most real, the most real thing we know, that is love, truth, beauty, joy, happiness. The experience of challenge, a global challenge in many ways. Part of the challenge sometimes, and maybe not the most obvious, is can we find what to be thankful for? More than that, can we be grateful for the challenge itself? Pain or pleasure, excitement, intention, I don't know, life circumstances, really any activity or feeling or belief. It's the most direct path to healing itself, and it requires nothing external.
Welcome to P&P, the Partners in Positivity podcast, where
Aisling Burnett
and myself, Sarah Harty, warriors of EBP, SBP, DHBs, that's emotionally bulletproof, spiritually bulletproof, divine human beings, aim to wake up and shake up the nation through positivity, humor, and shared wisdom.
Before we get stuck into another awesome episode, we just want to let you know that we have a donation page if you wish to support the podcast and help us to continue providing more amazing episodes for you. If you want to Google Partners in Positivity, you'll find our Buzzsprout site, and on there you can find a support button. You can click on that and support to your heart's content, whether it's a one-time donation or a monthly subscription. We really appreciate all the donations that we get. Thanks so much. Enjoy the episode.
Today on the Irish and international stage of our P&P podcast, we have another unique and supreme divine human being. It is a huge honour of ours to have the enchanting, humble and heartwarming head of insight and development at the Reconnection, Jillian Fleer, on our podcast. You are in for a treat. In collaboration with Dr. Eric Pearl, she oversees the direction and vision for the Reconnection and the Reconnective Healing global community. With the support of global teaching team directors and over 100 mentors internationally, they have established Reconnective Healing as a professional practice industry leader in energy healthcare. In addition, Jillian oversees global partnerships, training programs, content development, program execution, and business strategy. Jillian is also the co-instructor in the portal Reconnective Healing Online Level 1 course and co-stars in the Inner Compass series. Prior to the Reconnection, Jillian was a personal consultant and advisor to established global teachers and practitioners in the healing arts and wellness industry. Jillian's commitment to ensure the integrity of the Reconnection's mission to advance humanity into the next level of personal awareness, healing and evolution, utilizing the spectrum of scientifically supported reconnective healing frequencies that reclaim wholeness, balance and health for all living things. We chose to break this conversation down into two parts so you can step into student mode like us and enjoy digesting the great food for thought Jillian offers us. Today you get to learn about oneness, how to not run away from your feelings, knowingness, the essence of positivity, and gratitude. Without taking any more limelight away from our loving guest, Partners in Positivity, please help us welcome Jillian Fleer. Jillian, thanks so much for being with us today on Zoom. We are so blessed. We're so grateful. We're so excited, most of all, to have you over the ether of the internet.
Yes.
To hear your gorgeous voice and to hear your wisdom on reconnective healing and all of the great things that you're here to do. We know that you're the head of insight and development for a beautiful part of the planet, which is Reconnective Healing. And we've spent many days over the last couple of months listening to your meditations through YouTube, and we're grateful for those free meditations that we get to experience.
I must say, Ashley and Sarah, I was so touched to be invited into this podcast. And as you've listened a little bit to some of our sharing, I've had such a a wonderful opportunity to also tune in a little bit to the Positivity Podcast. And it's just really my honor to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Jillian. What I'd really love to speak to you about today, especially because we're 3 people here on Zoom. Can you talk to us a bit about the concept of oneness?
It's a magnificent sound and idea and concept, and we see it on t-shirts, and it's come to us through the channels of science and spirituality and quantum physics. And it's this word, yes, it's this word that in all languages, including Latin, sort of takes us on into the inquiry, or on the exploration of what is it? I always say, what is it? So I would share that in this most simplistic way. It's to remember the larger, more irreducible idea of ourself that shares its being with everyone and everything. And so first we can start with a simple inquiry to be aware of being, right? Being doesn't have a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4. It is an isness that we understand, maybe in the idea of everything is one, but it is that operates in us and around us and through us and as us, without us really having to reach out to it. It is a receiving, and very much a part of the Reconnective healing experience. We experience sort of the sensation of being sometimes. It can be a silent understanding, and often it sort of dissolves what I refer to as everything that we qualify through an opinion or a thought or a perspective or a circumstance. We sort of remove the quality that we've named it by. And in a way, that just brings us to the most familiar thing that all of us share. And that is that knows that I am, and knows itself. It's self-knowing.
Yeah.
And that's why we can all say with absolute certainty, I know that I am.
And what's most important for you about living that concept?
I don't think it's a concept that we live.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is everyone's experience. It's healing. It's always whole. It's one entity. There, in a way, I heard someone say the other day, I'd like the word individual, person, to be now renamed as a unividuals. Like, no more individuals. We're just this unividuals. And I thought to myself, it's beautiful when language is just being challenged, because it's so hard to find this in language. But I guess for me, both the Reconnective healing experience or oneness is this glimpse of our most loving intelligence, again, prior to pain or pleasure, excitement, intention, I don't know, life circumstances, really any activity or feeling or belief. It's the most direct path to healing itself, and it requires nothing external. So what's important to me is that we become curious enough to do that self-inquiry. And I would say that's sort of my ethos. That's my ethos in a way. I appreciate everything that is impersonal and recognize that the more personal we become, sometimes the more complex this oneness becomes. So there's a living in a loving detachment, recognizing that suffering is very impersonal. It isn't personal. Yeah.
Wow. Thanks so much for that. So that just leads me on to this question. Most of us try to run from our feelings or distract ourselves when we feel bad. And we have heard you talking about inviting it in. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Inviting it in, yeah. So this can, in a way, leads to this idea of this loving detachment without judgment. In a way, when we run from our feelings, or as you sort of suggested in one of the questions, distract ourselves when we feel bad, yes, or look for, I'm going to say, another obscuration, another distraction. In a way, we forfeit our freedom. And this freedom is not simply, I'm going to say, the liberty to do what we want or what we want. It is a freedom that allows that fixation on ourself or the sense of self to be liberated from this very narrow view of what and who we are and the world. And so when we are willing, and it's interesting, in a reconnective healing experience, the very nature of the receiving that happens through this healing platform dissolves this innate illusion of otherness. It isn't something we have to try to do. So on the level of the personality, we have this idea that we're in fear, frustration, a difficult moment, whatever it may be. And in that, I'm going to use a little bit of an analogy here, I think, to especially as I speak about the reconnective healing experience being sort of this direct path to healing, or as you say, inviting it all in. There is a simple experience and a revealing of walking back to ourself, which we only really experientially speak about in this way and with words, because you can't walk back to where you already are. It's kind of like a movie screen thinking it needs to go somewhere to project the movie it wants to play, right? Mm-hmm. It is, in essence, the movie. It's the screen is really the only thing there. So this fear that comes about in, we'll call this illusion or this separation of happiness, joy, love, that we are. This movie obscures or reduces itself in a way, or it is our way as consciousness reducing ourselves to project an experience, right? It comes in language and form, and it's quite exciting, but it's never the sum of its truth. So the movie is images, and yet it allows us to, or I'll say it this way, it allows consciousness, loving intelligence, to experience itself in form. That's what we are. All 8 billion of us are this incredible expression of loving intelligence in form.
Yeah.
And that's where creative display happens. That's the beauty, in a way, of Ashley and Sarah and the Positivity Podcast. This incredible creative play and this beautiful bringing of voices and conversations. This is the expression of experience. And this is really what makes what we'll call the world what it is. It only becomes, I'm going to suggest, a problem for us, and this is to your question about inviting it in, when we perceive the movie as being real. It's real in a way, yes? But the moment we lose ourself, the simple truth, I am, to a circumstance that comes and goes. All fear is finite. All loss is finite. All suffering, in a way, is finite, and unless it's the yearning to return to that connection and oneness. But the moment we lose ourselves in the truth of our irreducible nature, just simply the screen sits in the background. It's always there. It's untouched by any circumstance. It's never altered by anything that appears on it and in it. That is important for us to begin to recognize. So I know that's a very sort of roundabout way to bring us to, I think, an understanding, which first starts with the curiosity in our own experience, not just a thought, a belief, a mystical expression, a love of God, but to test this truth against our own experience.
Yeah.
Right? And when we do that, we recognize all clouds in the sky come in, and then disappear. Some move very, very slowly. Some move so slow, they linger for so long that we can get lost in the illusion. We can get lost in the illusion that the cloud is real, that it's infinite. And that's where ignorance and war and separation and all those attributes of the separate self become part of the movie. They become elongated in this very long lifetime that sometimes we don't release and return to or walk towards ourselves until we are leaving the experience or the movie, and that's called death, right?
So nice how you've explained that. And for me, how I relate that for myself in my day-to-day life would be in that I use the old age wisdom, this too shall pass. And then I reflect back sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I'm thinking, or having a bad moment, I'm thinking, oh my God, but I had a bad moment 2 weeks ago, and then I overcame that, and then I went back to like happy, bright Sarah. So this won't last like it didn't last before. It's temporary, and this too shall pass. And then I'm thinking, I'll be in another couple of days or another couple of hours, I'll be grand again. This is not permanent, but I'll sit with it for, I'll let it be what it is for now, and try not to attach to it too much. But I go back, I reference myself I reference the past sometimes.
I have to say, Sarah, it's an excellent inquiry. The glimpse that life is happening through me, like there's no doer. This is an absolute truth, and there isn't an emancipation that comes with it that's very relaxing and sort of liberating.
Yeah.
I often say to our group of friends that gather in the Reconnective Healing experience, you don't have to touch it. This chaos and fear can be what it is, just exactly how you described it. A bad moment. I had one last week in time and space. I had one 3 months ago in time and space. I had one a minute ago in time and space. The opportunity of allowing these passing experiences to be there, to bring them so close in a way that they become known for what they are, or to just not touch it by pushing it away, allowing it to just be what it is, something finite, always passing through, always with an ending, always with an ending. Whereas nothing infinite or real to our essential happiness ends. It has no finite quality to it. We might feel happy, but that's a feeling. And to become attached to that idea of the self, unfortunately, leads to a lot of suffering, because it's just a drive to seek the next happy moment, which takes us to the movies incessantly with no break. So nothing infinite or real to our most essential happiness passes through.
Yes.
It just is. It always is. And I think, that's the glimpse. That's the glimpse that we are exploring. And definitely in a reconnective healing experience, that's all we're exploring. It becomes quite tangible and noticeable in our daily experience, because the certainty amidst chaos just appears all of a sudden. We didn't do anything to change any part of our imbalance, whether it was a disease or whether it was a difficult relationship or a longing for a new job or more money. We don't have to assert an action. We have to become the observer, if you will, and the receiver of, I'm going to say in a way, its arrival in our experience. And that can take some time. We just have to keep showing up. Keep showing up.
I think I have to take a couple of seconds to process all this new beautiful language that I'm receiving from you. I love that you say the glimpse, the arrival, in how you explain this so beautifully. I'm wondering, could you, Jillian, provide us with like a couple of tips that people listening could apply right now if they were tuned in, to live from that place of oneness, receiving, allowing love rather than the fears and the illusions?
Yeah, I think we're touching it. I think self-inquiry, becoming aware and curious about our true nature. And I also sort of apply the idea that yes. The yes response to every experience allows chaos or fear to be what it is without touching it or pushing it away. So that's sort of an integral opportunity that I don't know that we all feel comfortable in the knowing of our shared being to always apply. Yes accelerates the cloud movement. It's a very interesting phenomena. I was thinking, I know during your podcast, you always ask that question, what does positivity mean for you? And I was really, it just in the spirit of this conversation, it really challenged me to sit and look at it on the level of the personality, to really look at it from that perspective of the person, Jillian, not the awareness that experience itself as Jillian. And so it was a great opportunity. And I thought, as I was playing with it on the level of the personality, that it was just to be aware of everything that is here by itself before any effort is made. Just to become aware of everything that is here in presence by itself before any effort is made. And so, I mean, you're building this incredible voice through Positivity podcast. It's the sort of the efforting of the two of you, but really, and I can only say this because we chatted for a few minutes prior to starting the recording, the knowing of what we'll call well, we'll say it this way, the knowing of what we'll call Ashley and Sarah, right? This way in which something between you is so known. That really doesn't have anything to do with the planning and the technology that you have to remember you have, and scheduling, and who does what well and who doesn't do what well, and your friendship. And there's something that exists so simply about Ashley and Sarah that really doesn't touch those circumstances, or those things that you have to do. So I think for me, that's really the essence of positivity. I think it's really incredible. It's also the name of your podcast, but in that, it's to be aware of everything that is here before any effort is made around it. And let me say that at that the most real thing we know, that is love, truth, beauty, joy, happiness. It is that shared being that we are. So it's nice that it's manifested itself in this creative display called the Positivity Podcast. Yeah, I think you have touched something that is, and then wrapped this name around it. That is quite beautiful.
I think choosing to do that, to see what exists before you begin to do something, you automatically step into gratefulness for what's already here.
Yes.
So you're then in that beautiful positive energy. Yeah, that's really incredible.
And I would suggest to you that, in the United States, we're just upon Thanksgiving, which is celebrated next week, and it is sort of the day that has been known as the season of harvest, and the idea of this gratitude, this world is navigating through a rather large challenge at the moment. And it's not our first and it's not our last, but it is what we'll call the experience of challenge, a global challenge in many ways. And part of the challenge sometimes, and maybe not the most obvious, is can we find what to be thankful for? More than that, can we be grateful for the challenge itself?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to find the true trust of knowing that is sort of gifted in the loving intelligence of Source is at its heart I think, what each of us is seeking, what we're always seeking. And that, again, that is just the isness. Because we're ladies here, there is a fantastic book called The She Book by Tanya Markle. And I'm going to just share this with you because I'm so touched by this particular sharing. In what you described as this gratitude, I would say that it is the gratitude to find power in your sensitivity, art in your vulnerability, sparkle in your suffering, imagination in your imperfections, and the awareness embodied in the soulful purpose known as you. And I think when we can look at thankfulness or gratitude from this perspective, it's real. There is a realness to finding power in our sensitivity, or art in our vulnerability, or sparkling in our suffering, and imagination in our imperfections. I think this is what we are seeking, really.
It is.
Wow. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. I'm definitely going to check out that book.
Congratulations, well done. Pat yourself on the back. You're officially now a partner in positivity with us. If this is your first episode, we're so grateful. If this is your 40th episode, we're equally as grateful for your ears, for your heart, for taking this time out for yourself and committing to your own positive mental health journey. Our intention for this podcast is for you to feel a little bit better afterwards. So we hope you take some time now to check in with yourself. How did you feel before? How do you feel now? And we've definitely done our job if you feel a little bit better, and especially if you want to come back for more next week. If you do want to support us, we actually have a Ko-fi donation page. It's ko-fi.com/partners in positivity. We really value the work that we're doing. We know there's so much positive and negative in the world, and we want to contribute to people feeling their best. So we appreciate all of the donations we've had so far and welcome any more that are on the way. Thank you in advance. Also, if you got something of value from this and you want to share with friends or family to add to this trend of positivity in the world, we would love to be tagged in any posts on social media. You know where to find us. Other than that, guys, have an incredible week ahead, and we look forward to feeding you some more nourishment for that beautiful mind, that beautiful garden of yours next week.